Hello, my name is Julian Lepera. I'm a researcher with UCI's UROP program, and my research centers around international law in the Ukrainian war. So my research is broken down into the following components. First, I'm going to be setting some parameters of what I mean when I refer to international law and how I define it in my research. Then I'm going to analyze the explicit written language of key documents that make up those laws and set international norms. After that, setting that context, we'll start by looking at the precedent of the Russian occupation of the Crimean Peninsula in 2014 and how it led to the full-scale invasion in 2022. Then we'll take a look at where Ukraine is today and how the international community has responded and how the laws and norms have been affected by it. So when I refer to international law, I mean specifically the written articles that govern international organizations, and then the resolutions that bind individual states as participants to those organizations, and then the larger international community. So for the purposes of my research, I'll be looking specifically at the following documents: the UN Charter, the Articles of the ICJ, the NATO Treaty, and the Rome Statutes that establish the International Criminal Court. I'll also be taking a look at humanitarian law to examine its role within the politics of the international system as a subset of international law. So in looking at the explicit language of key documents, we can see a concentration of power in the UN Security Council, and especially through their permanent members. Through their position in the Security Council, Russia has been able to evade accountability in the International Court of Justice under humanitarian law, which we will be looking at both jus in bello and jus ad bello, which is the distinction of the initiation of war and then the conduct during war. So the precedent set by the Russian occupation of Crimea in 2014 was key to the full-scale invasion in 2022. And examining just how Russia was able to maintain control of the peninsula and also evade accountability for various human rights violations is central to understanding how international law works and also is applied and evaded by an aggressive nation. So looking at Ukraine today, we can see how the progression of the war has involved the international community. Russia's continued efforts to capture more and more territory has prompted a response from the United Nations General Assembly, and it's also at times shown how it can be used as a tool by Russia to deter support to Ukraine. So the main takeaways from my research are that there is a definite focus of power in the Security Council's permanent members that allows them to evade accountability in the face of international law, which requires greater enforcement of the judicial organization's decisions, both the ICJ and the ICC, which require language in documents that support the balance between the political system of the United Nations and the adherence to written laws.